We're back.
What's new, Ted?
Well, like you, counting down the days until Peter Jackson's Get Back.
Yay!
What is it? 9 days?
Oh my God, it really is that close, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Thanksgiving week. It comes out.
You know, we're toying with going away for the weekend.
Yeah,
but
you're
honestly,
like, I don't know.
I might just want to be home for that, you know. It's 3 episodes, 2 hours each. Is that right?
Yeah, I think it starts the 25th.
It'd be really cool to see it in the movie theater, but I guess they're not going to be able to do that since it's episodes.
Yeah, that's right. Be nice to see in your house, though. I think nice Thanksgiving weekend thing to do. Yeah.
Well, it really does kind of like take me back to 1994 when that anthology came out.
Right. Yeah.
It was all that same excitement, you know.
Oh yeah. And had the CDs and the book and yeah. And of course the video series.
Yeah.
Some of the those some of those scenes that you just you'd never seen before,
Yep.
Them in current day 1994 sitting in the studio with George Martin and talking about different tracks and hearing different things that they had recorded but didn't use.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff they forgot, like they had, like, I don't remember that. It was really cool to see.
I think what's going to make this so special is that you're going to get to see them, like out of character, so to speak, like not being their show people. Like A Hard Day's Night is, that was a little bit of being able to see them building songs together and being behind the scenes, but they were playing characters, right? Because it was a movie.
Sure.
But with just the footage I've seen so far, it's just so cool to see them just kind of being just guys.
Yeah, I think people have this narrative of the Beatles, breaking up and hating each other, and I don't think it was that cut and dry either.
No, they seem really. I mean, we already, I guess, talked about this a lot, and we should break those down. That should be one of our podcasts. But just to see them getting along and working together is just really
right.
It's really sweet. It's just kind of, whoever would have gotten. I never would have thought I would have gotten to see something like that.
Oh no, I thought Let It Be was the last word for ages. Yeah, so it was nice to see that it's not the last word.
Yeah.
But anyway, we digress. This week we're here to talk about bad songs by great musicians, and I had a hard time with this actually.
Tell me why.
It was a slow building list. I went through this phase a while ago where I tried to find something good in everything I heard. Not everything, but if I didn't like it, I was like, oh, well, these guys are hitting the notes, and this was before autotune, so that's commendable. So I don't know. It was harder than I thought it was. Because I don't like to use the word hate when it comes to music, unless it's like a hate song. But I might dislike something, but hate always seems kind of strong to me, and sometimes I'm just indifferent, like yeah.
Yeah.
And then there were songs that I don't like by people that I don't really care about either, and I can I can tell you those songs too. We may have the same songs, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure we will have some of the same.
How was your process through this?
Well, I struggled with it a little bit too, because one thing was the subjectivity of it, right? Like we don't mean to say in any way that these are, if some people may love these songs, and that's all well and good. This is just our thoughts about it. So I didn't want to be a hater. I don't want to be a hater.
Yep.
Right. So there's that aspect, and then also I had to remind myself that this is a unique list because this is by artists who otherwise are people we really like and admire, right? It would have been easy. I could, like you just said, I could rattle off a million songs right away from artists that I don't like or respect.
Right. Yeah.
Like
We Built This City.
Don't get me started. Yeah, like We Built the City, or anything by Bon Jovi. But that's not what this list is about. This list is about artists who are you know, some of the best ever, and for some reason they just went off the rails a little bit, or no one was there to correct, to say, hey, maybe that's not, maybe there was nobody who felt brave enough to tell them, you know, that's not really, maybe that one shouldn't see the light of day, or
right. Yeah. Maybe
and then
earlier in
why do
their
we
career.
dislike it? So maybe, like, do we dislike them because they're bad compositions, or is it a lot of it maybe was the production of the era that it came out, and maybe underneath the production is actually a good song,
Right.
that's a factor. But I think it's all of that and more is what makes these songs, just in our opinion, bad
Not
songs,
our favorites.
bad songs by otherwise great musical artists.
Yeah. I have a few different, there's songs that fall into different categories, and we'll go over those.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah. What should we start the list?
Let's go. Let's do it.
You want to go first, or you want me to?
I'm happy to go first, if that's all right.
All right. Yeah.
All right.
Leading off.
I don't know. Is yours in order?
Mine's in no particular order. Mine just kind of came to me as I over like this 2-week stretch of carrying around my notebook, and
Okay.
oh, that's a bad one. Yeah, I got to write that one down, and then I would decide whether it's just a bad song by a band I don't like, or if it was going on the list. So
Okay.
yeah.
Well, okay. So my first one is by a songwriter who really has been a tremendous influence on me in my whole life, both as a human and as a musician. He is one of the reasons I make music. It's Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah.
Who for the most part has done, you know, work that I love and go back to over and over again. But every once in a while, he comes out with something that I think was a bad call, and I don't know how it made it onto an album. And this is one of them. It's called Outlaw Pete. Have you ever heard this song?
No. What is this from?
It's from an album, it probably came out about 10 years ago.
Okay.
I can't remember the name of the album. I can picture the cover.
Yeah.
It's a narrative about like an outlaw in the Wild West. It's just bad. I don't know how else to put it. It's
what's the style of music?
Songwriting is bad. The lyrics are just like goofy.
Is it a full band arrangement?
It's a full band.
Yeah.
He was trying to write like an epic thing. It's 7 minutes and 45 seconds long, on top of it not being good. And it's just painful to me. I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know how it got past his, his like his people, or even his own, like
his band. Yeah.
Training process.
Right. And at this point, you think some of these people have been playing with him for, like years.
Yeah.
You think they might have that level of familiarity that someone would say, well, is this really something we want to put on the record, or something you want to put on the record?
Yeah. This whole album really wasn't one of his best. But there are a few songs on it that are really good.
Yeah.
But this one, I can barely get through a minute of it without just being like, what?
Right. It's also a book,
Yes, I know.
By Bruce Springsteen.
Yes.
Did you ever check out the book?
I saw the book.
Yeah. It's going in it's probably Goodwill now for
I think he was under the impression that he was creating a whole character and a whole, like, almost like a mini movie. And then it was really going to take off as like this whole thing.
Yeah. I never did.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Outlaw Pete.
Sorry, Bruce.
All right. No, that's all right. That's all right. He's more than made up for it in other ways.
Yeah.
Well, my first one is one that I ran by you, and this was the first song that popped into my head when we had the idea, and it's Brian Wilson, and this was actually never released officially, but it, you know, with the age of the internet, it's out there. It's called Smart Girls, and it's Brian Wilson rapping in the 1980s, kind of 1980s rapping style. And it's like it's the lyrics are horrible. It's offensive, you know. To his defense, he was having some pretty severe mental health challenges at the time, and I know he was under the care of that doctor who was, you know, doing some really horrible things. But that song is just, oh my gosh, yeah.
I've heard that song, and I know what you mean. So it's in that 80s rapping style where it's like, I'm Brian Wilson and I'm here to
To
say.
say, yeah.
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 Yeah, some bad stuff can almost go into that category of so bad it's good.
Yeah.
Or so bad it's kitschy, maybe. But I'm not sure that one.
Yeah, that just, yeah, I just thought, wow. Yeah, but thankfully, I mean, at the time it didn't get released, and it's only since we've had the internet that all these things have surfaced, you know, not with him, but just in general,
Right.
Unreleased material. And so it came to light, and, you know, people were like, wow.
Yeah.
This is, yeah. So that's one of my songs.
Good choice. Sorry, Brian.
I don't mean to pick on Brian during his, during that time, but
that's great.
Oof. All right, what you got? What do you got next?
So at some point I have to unveil I have one artist is on here 3 times.
Really?
Yeah. And I don't know if I should just get it out of the way.
All 3 of them at the same time, or you want to do like boom, boom, boom?
I think, well, I don't want to like dominate the conversation for too long. So I don't know. I guess I'll do boom, boom, boom. So here's the first of this person's songs. So the legendary Beatle himself, Paul McCartney, who, in my opinion, has some of the worst songs of all the 4 of them as solo artists.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah,
he's on my list too.
When he's bad, it's almost unbelievably bad.
Yeah,
it's just ridiculous. I don't know how to make sense out of that.
I think some critics said they used to get really mad at him when he would do that because he has such incredible talent as a songwriter and a musician. And for some of these songs to come out of him, they're just like, no, keep that to yourself, you know. Just
I think he also just maybe suffered from that same thing, but like there was no one there to tell him no. That was powerful enough to, like, right. I mean, once you've already been a Beatle, you kind of can do whatever you want, and maybe it just comes down to yourself having to put the brakes on.
Right. He's just, he's like a larger than life figure, you know, worldwide. I mean, I think I remember watching an interview with Noel Gallagher from Oasis, and he was talking about meeting Paul McCartney, and McCartney's so, like, you know, friendly, and like you just feel like you're hanging out with, you know, another musician. And then you go to the newsstand the next day, the record store, and there he is everywhere, you know, and you're like, right, he was in the Beatles, you know, and that's like not just England or America, it's like worldwide for the last 50 something years, right? Almost 60 years. He's been in our consciousness, you know.
Well, this one should not be in anyone's consciousness.
Like
what makes it doubly bad is it also involves one of the other greatest musicians of all time, Michael Jackson.
Oh, okay.
The song is "The Girl Is Mine."
Oh, the doggone girl.
I'm not sure why the word "doggone" would ever be in a song, unless it came out in like the 1940s or something. And but I find that song is just painful, and I'm not even gonna try to. What else can you? If you know the song, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. But
we all know the song. We all know the video, right? Where they're riding around and and they have costumes on. And
now I don't know if I'm recalling correctly. Is Paul McCartney in blackface in that song, in that video?
Oh gosh, I don't know.
Maybe I have to look back and watch it again. I have this
Ooh,
vague recollection of him in blackface, but I'm hoping I'm wrong.
we'll have to go check. I don't remember. I just remember them like they were like traveling minstrels or something, right? Or troubadours, and yeah.
Well, even the fact that it's kind of almost minstrel is,
Hmm.
a little sketchy.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I know. That's a good one. All right. So you want me to go next?
Yes, sir.
All right. Um, this one goes back, I think, to the 60s, and it's David Bowie, Laughing Gnome. Do you know that song?
Oh yeah, yeah.
With Gus Dudgeon producing it, who did all those Elton John records and was a fairly well-known producer for a long time. And it's just, yeah, it's got that like high helium laugh in it, which I think is Gus Dudgeon, the producer. And it's just a throwaway song, and it's like kind of like the anti-Bowie song, You can't picture. It's hard to picture him in the studio recording this. It's just bad, It's silly. It's like cheap laugh, and then the high pitched laugh comes in, and it's not even, sometimes novelty songs can be fun, and this is it doesn't even fit into that category even. So
Was this
laughing.
you said early 60s
I think it was probably late 60s. I
or
think
late 60s?
mid to late 60s, right when he was getting his start.
Was that around the same time as that song Kooks?
I think so, yeah.
I mean, Kooks is borderline like it's a cute song. It's got a nice melody that it's
Mhm.
you sing along with it, but it also is a little bit like
Yeah.
it's a little dated, and
Right.
it's not really him at his best.
Oh
But
yeah.
it's charming in its own way, that song actually. But
Good.
the little gnome one, yeah.
No, it doesn't even fit into like the novelty category, or yeah. Yeah, it's a throwaway.
Yeah.
So that's my number two.
All right. My number three goes back to um, the doomed partnership of Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson for "Say Say Say."
Oh yeah. So what about this song don't you like?
Well, I find the melodies on both these songs to be a little trite,
Hmm.
more so on "The Girl Is Mine."
Right.
The singing is just kind of like, to call it light rock is being kind, I think.
Yeah.
Um, the instrumentation, I'll give the instrumentation, and production, I'll try to chalk up to it being the 80s.
Right. Sure.
But I still would make the argument that a Beatle should know better.
Yeah. Why do you think those songs were they
Consider
just
that what?
why do you think that collaboration? I mean, they sold a lot of records,
They did,
but
yeah. Which I just chalk that up to their fame at the moment. I mean, Michael
right, if
Jackson
it
was the biggest thing in the world, and here he is teaming up with a Beatle. I mean, it's going to sell. It doesn't matter what
yeah,
it's going to be.
sure. If it was two other people, I think, yeah.
But when you consider that Paul McCartney was a guy who, changed the landscape of pop music by being part of a team that
Hmm.
came up with some of the most interesting things to do musically ever done, right? Whether it's
Yeah,
using Moog synthesizers or Mellotrons, or
yeah.
playing tracks backwards, or writing some of the most interesting chord progressions that rock and roll had ever seen before,
Hmm.
um, or using full orchestrations, or whatever the case might be. He was an incredible innovator, and to see him almost regress
Yeah,
to make music and use instruments that, it was like he was going backwards in
right.
in his own development as a musician.
Yeah. I remember when Elvis Costello worked with him, and he kind of had to gently say, let's not use a synthesizer on these recordings, let's, you're a great piano player, let's use an acoustic piano, let's stop using these horrible synthesizer sounds,
Yeah, I think Elvis
And
Costello kind of saved him from himself,
yeah, I think so too.
because the albums he made post Elvis Costello collaborations are much better, I think,
Hmm.
than
Oh
the
yeah,
ones before.
definitely. They kind of gave him a little boost, a little kick in the pants or whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I
um,
agree.
yeah. So
No, it's bad. Yeah, I agree. The production is, yeah,
I don't know who produced those songs. I don't know if it was Quincy Jones or whoever, but
probably.
you think it's Quincy Jones?
I don't
I
know.
hope it's not.
I don't know. I'll search when you're talking next.
All right, you go next.
All right, my next one. Well, let's stay on the Beatles. And this one is, if this one ever comes on the radio, and I know you and I have talked about this before, it gets switched faster than grease lightning. It's Got My Mind Set on You by George Harrison.
Yeah, that's on my
And
list too.
oh my gosh, that song just repetitive. It's like even I went back and listened to the original, and the original I didn't even like either. You know, it's like, why did he pick that song? And
Uh,
it's repetitive. The production, of course, with Jeff Lynne, um, that snare sound. It's got a few like snare breaks in it, where it just drives me nuts. Someone needs to stop Jeff Lynne and that snare sound. How did he get all those people to work with him? I'm being controversial now, but
I
he's
don't
Tom
know.
Petty, Mike Campbell. All these people have wanted to work with him. Um,
No idea.
and that song, I think, what Weird Al did the whole parody of it. That worked perfectly, right?
He did a parody of "I Got My Mind Set on You."
Yeah, it's like this song is just 7 words long or something. This song
I've
is
got to look
just
that up. I've
seven
never seen that.
words long, or whatever, 6 words long. Yeah. So Weird Al even did a parody of it, because it's like the same thing over and over and over and over and over. It's like, oh my God, please make
And
it
see,
stop.
that's to me that is on my list too. And that to me that's just another example, just like what I was talking about, which is how could a Beatle not know better? Because
Yeah.
of again, because of the amount of interesting things you did with your
Mhm.
friends only 20 years before that.
Right.
How could you go backwards in
Oh, I
terms of
know.
production style and
Yeah.
not being able to say to yourself, hey, wait a second, this would have been fine when I was just starting, but I've already
Right.
been a Beatle and I've already made All Things Must Pass. And
I
like,
know.
why would I go back to this bubblegum poppy, crappily produced style of music?
Yeah. Right. And the
Makes no
arrangement.
sense.
Yeah, the arrangement is just horrible.
And the Traveling Wilbury stuff is arranged much cooler than that,
Oh yeah. I think the Traveling
And
Wilbury
that
stuff
was
is
around
really
the same time.
yeah. Oh, it is. I think that song I think it has limitations, that song. I mean, if you listen to the original, it's pretty much the same thing. It really doesn't go anywhere. There's no like arc to the song or anything or dynamics.
Yeah.
Um, it does the same, kind of chugs the same way over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, it's just boring and
Yeah.
it grates on your nerves.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, George.
No, that's yeah. So whew, I feel better. Okay.
Yeah, this is cathartic, right? We just have to say it.
That's right. Maybe Jeff Lynne's watching.
Yeah.
Probably not.
So my next one involves Sir Paul again.
You get another Macca. All right.
And this time he teams up with yet another legendary songwriter, the
Oh
great
no.
Stevie Wonder.
Oh, I have this on my list too.
For God help us, the most ridiculous attempt to heal race relations ever set to music
Ebony and
by using a piano as a metaphor for how we should all just get along.
and their outfits in the video, right? I remember that too. They were dressed like,
Again,
McCartney had like a black vest and a white shirt, and Stevie Wonder had the opposite kind of thing.
people are the same
Yeah.
wherever you go. There is good and bad in everyone. And the production again, the Ebony and Ivory, man. I just don't understand what either of them was thinking, let alone both of them.
don't
I
know.
mean, can you just
Yeah.
imagine these two guys in a room together, Superstition, the Talking Book album, Songs in the Key of Life, talking to the guy who wrote Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and they're together.
Yeah.
And they're sitting down, and they're like, okay, let's do something together. And that's what comes out.
That what comes out. I know.
How is that even possible?
It just feels lazy. It feels lazy, and it feels like something that, people say to kids when they're little and the kids don't believe them. They're like, no, that's not true. No, that kid's a jerk, kids, people are not the same. These people have money, these people don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, it was so, it was overly simplified. And for them to have that kind of, that podium to make a big kind of, a way of kind of talking to the world about this kind of stuff, and I think they kind of blew it,
to say the least.
Yeah.
And yet again, it was a huge hit.
Oh yeah.
All these songs came out after 1980, and part of me, and this, I don't know, like this is all after John was gone,
right?
And I can't help but wonder if a little bit, if even like the lack of John on the planet stopped Paul from like knowing what John would have said to stop him from putting out,
right,
trite nonsense like that.
Right. You can't take Lennon and put him in any of those songs.
Oh, God.
Or any of the other Beatles. Even Ringo, I don't know, maybe a little Ringo, but
No, hey, listen, nothing by Ringo ended up on my list.
No, me neither.
For what it's worth. Because Ringo knows how to stay within himself, and so
right, exactly, yeah,
he's never really going to disappoint you.
Exactly, yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
no, I think that's a good point about this. Was after Lennon had passed away, there was Lennon was the one to say, oh no, we don't do that, and it was the Reagan era too,
yeah.
And that had a lot of influence on people.
We never know what John would have done in the 80s. Like, would the 80s have messed him up too and made him make garbage? I don't know. We don't know.
Don't know. I know. Can only speculate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like they wouldn't have, but because he was just too interesting as a human being, I think, to have gone down those, like, any of those roads.
I think so too. I think he would be given the side eye to a lot of that stuff that was happening in the 80s,
Yeah.
I
think he would have gone more the route of like the Talking Heads and Brian Ferry and Roxy Music, and like I think that stuff would have been much more interesting to him, and he would have created that kind of stuff.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. I can see that because he was still young. He was only 40.
Yeah.
He would have been 50 at the end of the decade. But still young, I think, I can see that. You make a good point.
I think he would have teamed up with Elvis Costello too at some point.
I know. I think so too. What do you think? Yeah, maybe Brian Eno even,
Oh yeah, definitely.
And there's that story of the Clash asked Lennon to produce their second record.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's a story about, I think in one of the documentaries about the Clash, how they wanted him to produce Give Him Enough Rope, I think.
Huh.
But I think Lennon was kind of embroiled in his whole, like, trying to get his visa or green card or whatever he was trying to get, and it didn't happen. But I think the message was relayed to him that there's this, English band and they want you to produce them. And I thought that would have been really cool.
That would have been very cool. Yeah, Lennon as a producer would have been very cool.
Yeah, I think he would have been a great producer. Yeah, in the 80s. I think he might have stripped away some of that horrible stuff that was happening, but we can only guess.
Yeah. All right, what's your next one?
Okay, my next one, this kind of goes along with your theme of Ebony and Ivory, and it's Sting and Russians. I can't stand that song. That's
You
another
don't,
like,
you don't hope that the Russians love their children too?
but it's not that. It's the message. It's, you know, living. Yeah, it's like Ebony and Ivory living together in perfect. Well, yeah, of course, that'd be great. But it's just the whole kind of patronizing, you know, tone of the song and the oversimplification of what was going on with the world at the time and Sting's smugness. You know, I think the lyrics are. I think it's mostly the lyrics with that song. I do. It comes on the. You know, I am just like, I gotta change that.
Yeah, he also kind of wrote the music as almost like in a Russian march kind of
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
right.
Right,
It
this.
was almost like Rocky Four, like that kind of Russia
I'm
perception.
gonna take
Right?
all the Russians. Yeah, I know. Like that was the '80s thing too, right? The Russians
Right.
in all the movies, they were always the bad guys. If you watch the Bond movies or whatever,
Yeah.
or Stallone.
There's a
I just think
glow in Europe and America. There's a growing feeling of hysteria.
yeah, I can't take that song. I think it's mostly like just the same thing with Ebony and Ivory. The lyrics are just, yeah, way too trite, way too
Yeah.
oversimplified. The music, like you said, is kind of patronizing, you know, and like, look, this is a Russian, you know, this is a song about Russia, you know. So yeah, and I was looking at Russians while we were, you know, before we did the show a couple days ago, and I guess Sting has won some awards for like worst lyricist, and which I never really thought about, but some people were like, I guess he put out a book of lyrics a while ago, and it just got completely panned, you know,
Oh, wow.
like rhyming, you know, cough with Nabokov, you know.
Oh, great. Yeah, I never really thought his lyrics have never really bothered me before, but you're right.
Yeah,
You're right about that song. But
but I hadn't really thought about it either. I mean,
um, yeah, that's not a great one. I wonder if I bet he doesn't play that live very much.
and it's very dated too, right? I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, so
I do like Englishman in New York though.
do you? Yeah,
Remember that one?
yeah,
I think
sure.
it's on the same album actually.
There was another Sting song I had in mind, and I can't even remember the name of the song, but it's like, um, and all this time the river flowed endlessly,
Oh
or whatever.
yeah.
That song drove me nuts too. It's like, what is this about?
Oh, this time. I liked the music of that song though. I liked the melody.
Yeah, I like that, but the words kind of drove me a little. I didn't like the words at all.
Yeah.
I just thought, what is this about? This is about,
Where's the
and I
river?
guess I don't know. I guess it's okay for words to be about nothing, but the way he presents them sometimes is like, this is really important, you know.
Yeah, he does have that
Yeah,
self-importance thing. Yeah,
yeah.
that's a big Sting trait. Did you see this new show that just came out called Only Murders in the Building with Steve
No.
Martin and Martin Short?
Oh, I've heard of it. I've seen it. Yeah.
So Sting is in it.
Oh, yeah.
He's in an episode, and he plays with he makes fun of himself a little bit of that whole part of his persona
Oh,
about like
really?
how everything that comes out of his mouth is just so, academic.
You
Like,
need to listen to this.
yeah, like look at me, I'm a rock musician, but I'm also so academic with my lyrics. So maybe he's at an age now where even he can kind of like give himself a hard time.
I hope so. Yeah. I've read other things where musicians don't particularly care for him.
Really?
Like in interviews.
Huh.
I think there was an interview with Paul Weller where they were, you know, he was playing at some place, and he just kind of scowled at the Sting poster that was in the lobby or whatever. And,
Well, who knows? Yeah, there could be some jealousy there. I mean, if you're as
yeah.
good looking late into life as he is, and apparently can have tantric sex for hours, there's probably some jealousy. Yeah.
Well, Richard Thompson has a song called Geordie Go Home. You know, the Geordie is someone from Newcastle.
Uh-huh.
And I guess it's pretty obviously about Sting because he starts talking about, where'd your Geordie accent go? I didn't know you were from Jamaica, you know.
Hmm.
So but I don't know. I have to research and find out what he meant by that.
Yeah.
So anyway,
That's a good choice. That's a good choice. All right. Let's see.
no more McCartney.
I did got my mind set on you. Okay, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm gonna stick with staying in the Police here, because I'm gonna go with Mother by the Police from the Synchronicity album, which I believe is a Stuart Copeland song.
Oh yeah.
And
that kind of sits apart from the rest of the album in a big way.
yeah, I'm all for getting avant-garde and but I don't think you should try to sound like Yoko Ono if you don't really have to. That song is just a big fat mess to me, and I do not see the point at all.
Yeah, it almost seemed like, oh, we need to get this guy's song on the record,
Yeah, I
Did
guess.
you get that feeling, or?
Yeah, but they never. I don't know. Did they do that before? Like, would they always give Stuart Copeland one song, like Ringo or something?
I think they might have. Yeah, I'm trying
Really?
to think. I don't know them that well enough to say, oh, on this album they. But it seems like it just struck me as like, I remember going to this show with a friend of mine in the '80s, and it was kind of like this new wave alternative band, and they were playing kind of like Echo and the Bunnymen style music. And then they go, okay, now we're gonna, and the guitar player was singing most of the songs, and they said, no, okay, our bass player, we're gonna play a song by our bass player. And it was like a total funk workout, it was like slapping and stuff. And it was like, wait, what band is this? It was completely different.
Yeah.
And it just kind of reminded me of that kind of thing where, okay, we'll give him, here's a bone,
I feel like this is a good time to re-inject the idea that we actually like all these artists, and that's why they're on this list.
Yeah.
Like, we're not like attacking any of these artists. We like all these artists, and that's why these songs.
Before the hate mail comes in.
Right. Okay, yeah. That's my next one. What's yours?
Let's see. My next one. I lost my place here. Oh, I kind of was on the fence about this one just because it's later. This is also kind of involves Brian Wilson, but it's a later Beach Boy song, Kokomo.
Oh.
And
he had nothing to do with that song, I think.
I know. It's just like, but the name the Beach Boys was associated with, and I thought, and I don't think he had anything to do with it, but it's like, and it's so much later in their career, but it's just such a horrible song.
Yeah, no, it's still got their name on it, so it's their legacy.
Yeah, and it's one of those songs that gets stuck in your head, like a Hall & Oates song that you just can't get out. It's an earworm that you don't want there.
No.
And I think it went with a movie, right? Or something. Didn't it go with like a Tom Cruise movie or something?
I think it went with Cocktail, that movie Cocktail.
Yes. Yeah. And it's just, it's the melody is like gets stuck and you can't get it out. I don't know. It made the list. That's my song.
Yeah, that's one of those songs that seems like it was designed to be in commercials, like commercials for traveling.
Yeah.
Like for an airline or something, or for a travel agency.
Right, United Airlines.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't stand that song.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, I think that was like a Mike Love thing, like he was like, I can write Beach Boy songs without Brian Wilson. Look at this.
Yeah.
I'm not positive about that, but I think I heard that or read that.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's yeah. So it made my list. It has the Beach Boys name on it. It may not have Brian Wilson involvement at all, but it gets on my nerves. So
yep. That's a good
yeah.
Very good choice.
And some songs get on your nerves and others you just can't, you just skip over,
Yeah.
So all right, what do you got next?
All right, my next one is by an artist I've already talked about tonight, not Paul McCartney. And for this one, I'm not so sure that this is just not the production. it might actually be a fairly good song,
Yeah.
but it's I Just Called to Say I Love You by Stevie Wonder,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
which I can't turn off fast enough whenever I hear it. And it's hugely disappointing again for the guy that gave us Talking Book and Songs in the Key of Life and Inner Visions.
Right.
I just don't know how the same organism could
Produce
create
that melody.
those albums and
Yeah.
then later create this song. But all that being said, I did recently hear an absolutely beautiful version of it by John Prine.
Oh,
Where he
really?
basically turned it into like a really stripped down acoustic guitar, little folky song.
Oh,
And it totally works. So and maybe it's just the production that
it could
just
be.
cheapy little tinker toy drum machine,
Yeah.
those ridiculous synths that sound like they're just,
Oh, yeah.
your buddy Joe at home after school poking on a Casio
Right.
with Stevie
Those little
Wonder.
mini Casios. Yeah. Yeah.
What? I don't understand.
I guess that's part of the problem with the 80s, right? Is that some of those productions just don't age well,
Yeah, but was that even good at the time? Did people think that was good at the time? Even? I think even at the time, people were like, "What the heck?
Yeah.
Why is Stevie Wonder sounding like me?"
What do you think it was because all this technology was new and people were still trying to figure it out and like they just wanted to use it?
Maybe.
Let's put this electronic drum on just because I can,
Yeah, maybe. And now, if you use an electronic drum like that, it could come across as kind of cool and retro.
Right.
Like you could build it into a song and then have like live drums off in there as well, and like
right.
it'd be kind of cool. And
yeah, sometimes, yeah, that's true. That's a good point. I think back then it feels like people we have this now, let's use it, let's use synthesizers for horn parts. And I remember listening to, I think I was in the studio working with Gus when Claire was doing her record and she wanted to do vinyl. So we were like comparing vinyl records, and he didn't have that many, but he had Back in the High Life by Steve Winwood.
yeah,
there's some great songs on that record, but the production is like so 80s. We were listening to it thinking like, wow, this would be so cool with like a real horn section, or like, a real drummer. The songs are there, but I guess with the same thing with that song.
that song also has just these lyrics that are just like like a little Hallmark card or something. And again, this is a guy who wrote, it's just some of the most beautiful, gut-wrenching songs with lyrics that just are so beautiful, like Mr. Know-It-All, and I mean, you can go on and on, all these songs on those albums. It's just like,
right.
Did you really have to put that out? Was it really necessary? Or could that have just been something fun that you just did at home and then just, played for your kids or something as a way of teaching them how to rhyme?
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. That's a good one though.
Sorry, Stevie. You're I don't know what to say.
No, it's all right. Hey, it is what it is, right?
Yep.
We're ready for my next one.
Yeah.
My next one is a Richard Thompson song off of Rumor and Sigh, which is a great record. It's almost perfect except for this one song called Psycho Street. Rumor and Sigh, I think, came out early 90s, 91, 92 maybe. And it's got, Vincent Black Lightning, Misunderstood. It's just a great record. And then I think Psycho Street is the last song. And it's just this bizarre song. It's kind of like Mother, I think, by the Police. It's like the song that just doesn't fit in with the rest of the record. It's got like this spoken word verse about these kind of psychotic acts that people do that are really disturbing. Like some guy puts a letter bomb through someone's mailbox and their house blows up and they're in the hospital. And then it goes into this chorus, which is kind of like a 40s kind of jazz thing, Psycho Street, I'm living on, And then he goes back to, the verse where he's like narrating,
Hmm.
and it just, I skip it every time.
Hmm.
Every time.
Hmm.
Yeah, it doesn't, I'm not sure, it doesn't work with the rest of the record.
Yeah.
I think it would be one of those records that was like almost perfect, from start to finish. If I'm sure he's a prolific writer, there must have been something else.
Well, that's why perfect records are that's what makes perfect records even that much more impressive, right?
Oh
Because
yeah,
think about how hard it is to make a perfect record
yeah,
without even one clunker.
yeah. And that
Um,
was, Mitchell Froom produced that record, who was kind of all over everything back then. Los Lobos and Suzanne Vega, and yeah, he was kind of everywhere.
hmm. Well, I don't know
Um,
that song, but I'll give it a listen.
yeah.
Maybe I guess if I have to, I have to.
Well, listen, you let me know if I'm crazy. But
Okay.
you know me, I'm like the biggest Richard Thompson
Yeah.
fan.
No, I mean, I think that's what
And
makes this list. I mean, listen,
um,
we're not giving our favorites a break here.
yeah, and I like, all these people I've mentioned, McCartney, Harrison,
Yeah.
Sting. I love
Springsteen.
all these people, and especially Richard Thompson is like,
Yeah, I know he's one of your favorites.
but it's just like every once in a while there's a stinker,
Yep.
So
All right.
that's my next one.
Let me see now how many I've done. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay.
Mhm.
So this one is okay. This one might. I'm ducking here because I think some people might throw tomatoes at me, but I do not like Aretha Franklin's version of "The Weight" by the band.
Oh, look out!
I do not like it. I think that it's lazy. I think that
Uh-huh.
it's just kind of like a cookie cutter little R&B take on this other classic song, which to me was already done great by the Staple Singers
Right. Yeah.
in the R&B style.
Yeah.
And she just kind of like she just wails away at certain points, which to me
Mhm.
is bad use of her ability to do that. Like
Right. Right.
it seems like she just went in and just said, "Let me just do some Aretha stuff." And
Yeah.
we'll put in a few funky bass lines and we'll
Mm.
make this great song, which is already great, so we'll already be able to cash in on it. We'll just make
Yep.
it an Aretha song, but we're not really going to do anything that interesting to it, and I'm just going to go into my highest register a lot and push the needle into the red. And you know
Right.
I I'm not a fan.
You think it was lazy? Like, it sounds like it.
I'm not sure that's the right word to use, but I
Not
just
lazy, but just kind of
yeah, they just kind of like took an easy way out and just kind of like
they didn't
cookie
really.
cookie cuttered it a little bit,
Yeah.
in my
Sure.
opinion. And I honestly, when she goes into that wailing scream, I'm not always in love with that, and I think it has to be used really well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think she
Right.
overused it on this song. I
Yeah.
think she used it as like a calling card. Like this is my thing. This is what I do.
Right. This is my, yeah. It's almost like showing a technique thing.
Yeah,
That, yeah. Because I mean, you can have there's singers that have limited registers that use their voice
yeah,
beautifully.
and it's almost like she wasn't really paying attention to what the song is about. The song is not it's not a big production song. It's a
No,
intimate little song
you want to hear the
about
story.
everyday life.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I think the Staple Singers nailed it because they don't overblow it.
Right. Exactly.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. I think Mavis is. I always put Mavis up there
Absolutely, and they love to.
as one of my favorites in that genre.
Me too. Me too.
And I
Listen,
think I would probably get a lot of pushback. I think
for
and
my
hate.
money, I would listen to Mavis Staples over Aretha Franklin.
Yeah.
Sorry, every time. I just think Mavis Staples had a much more subtle,
Hmm.
groovy, low key
There's a
vibe to
lot of,
her.
yeah. There's in her voice. There's warmth and love, and not that Aretha doesn't have that,
No, she does. Yeah.
but there's something about Mavis that, yeah, it just makes you feel good. listening to her. And I think she, yeah. So I would put her up against Aretha. But
Now I could have also gone with Aretha's. What's that hit she had in the 80s?
oh, yeah. I thought you were going to say Respect from the Rolling
No.
Stones for a second.
Riding on the freeway, riding on the freeway.
Right. The Freeway of Love. Yeah.
See, the 80s got Aretha too.
Well, they got James Brown too, right?
They got James Brown, Living in America.
That was my next one, actually, if you want to lead into that. Yeah. And I thought, yeah, here's the guy who, changed music, and did all these incredible things with music and activism and politics, and then to come out with that was just like, I think it was the same thing as the Aretha 80s thing. I was shocked hearing that song. It just had that 80s production, that 80s kind of like in your face, no subtlety to it whatsoever. Yeah, so that made my list too. Living in America.
Wow, we brought the king and the queen of soul under the bus.
Well, we got the Beatles in there too.
Yeah.
And who else do we get?
Oh, we got some great ones.
Yeah, David Bowie.
Bowie made my list also with his collaboration with Mick Jagger, Dancing in the Street.
The only time I like that song is when they did that video. Did you see that video they altered where they took out the music? And it's just them dancing. They took out the music. And so it's just like this was like 5 or 6 years ago, someone went through and took out the music. So all you hear is like the footsteps dancing.
Oh, really?
And people breathing really hard.
Oh, I never saw that. Huh.
I'll send it to you later.
Okay. Yeah, I thought that was pretty lame.
That was for Live Aid, right?
Really?
I think it was this. Yeah, I think like the concert Live Aid.
I only remember the video. I don't really remember any other performance of it.
I think they put that video out like simultaneously with Live Aid. If I'm remembering correctly.
Okay.
I could be wrong. Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, see, with some of these, it's like you get it's 2 in 1, like two great artists.
Yeah, Mick Jagger and David Bowie. Yeah,
right. Like some of the other ones I chose. I mean, I give them a little break on this because I think they were just having fun.
Yeah.
I don't think they were. Yeah. So it didn't make the highest levels on my list, but it did get on my list.
It's never a song that I'm going to put on like, oh, I want to listen to David Bowie and Mick Jagger's collaboration. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
I don't know if I have any more. Do I? I had some runner-ups. I had that one of the songs. I had some songs that are kind of straddling the list, like they're not horrible, but they still kind of. I had that Bob Dylan song they did with Curtis Blow. Do you remember that one?
No.
Street Rock, where Bob Dylan raps. Again, someone stepping out of their comfort zone a little bit.
I've never heard that.
I think again, it was the late 80s. And Dylan raps really fast. And it doesn't work. And it's, it's, you want to try something new, that's great, but this really didn't work at all. It's called Street Rock. It was with I think it's on Curtis Blow's record, actually. I don't think it's on a Bob Dylan record. I don't think.
Wow.
I'll be corrected, I'm sure. But so that made my list.
Okay. Is that your last one?
I think it is, yeah.
Okay. I had a tie for my last spot. And one of them I listened to again tonight and realized that it's not as bad as I originally thought. It's River of Dreams by Billy Joel.
Oh, yeah.
This was his last album. He's never made another album since. I think it was like 1990 or something.
Really?
Maybe a little later than that.
Yeah.
and it's more of like almost like a doo-wop song.
Hmm.
But I listened to it again tonight, and it actually isn't that bad, and it's like its structure and its composition is actually pretty good. Um, I just at the time I didn't like that he was sort of trying to go into this doo-wop falsetto style
Right,
and
right.
go like to create almost like an oldies song already before it was even
Yeah,
an
yeah,
oldies song.
yeah.
But it actually is it's pretty listenable. And then the other one was Wild Wild Life by Talking Heads, who I think
Oh, yeah.
they had a little bit of a moment there where they really dipped that Little Creatures album and then
Hmm.
True Stories, which came out right after that.
Yeah.
They lost their cool vibe.
I think they had
Um,
run their course.
they did come back for this one album called Naked, which I think was the last studio album they made,
Yeah.
which is actually much more interesting. And they had
Hmm.
that song that was on the Until the End of the World soundtrack, which came later.
Right. Yeah.
But just for those two albums, they seem to have lost their Talking Headsness.
Yeah. They seem really mainstream, those albums to me.
Yeah, very
The
mainstream.
production didn't seem, with the Talking Heads, you're always expecting something adventurous
Yeah,
and,
you had that out,
something to surprise you.
right? You had that
And these
song
were,
"And She Was," which is not great.
no, that was on my list of like straddling.
"Stay Up Late,"
Um,
right?
yeah,
About the little baby. I mean, it's cute and everything, but
it's kind of silly.
yeah.
Yeah.
The only song I
Uh,
really do like out of that is "Road to Nowhere." That's a cool song.
yeah. Yeah, even though that kind of drove me crazy, the drum beat on that,
Mm.
the marching thing kind of, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I completely lost them at that point. And I think I stopped paying attention. And I liked part of Naked, but it's still, yeah, I don't
And
know.
it's just it's one of those things again, which is just like, well, what happened there? Like, why would they have gone so straightforward after being so interesting?
You think it's the chemistry, the band, or whatever, just kind of were like, because the
Maybe they
Tom Tom
wanted
Club.
hits.
Yeah. Did you ever read was it Chris France who just wrote a book?
No, I never read that.
I've heard it's pretty good.
Hmm.
Um, I haven't read it either, but I always wondered because I remember like they were each kind of branching out. Like the Tom Tom Club had a lot of success, I think more success than you would expect from a side project of a band.
Yeah.
And maybe they felt like they wanted more same Talking Heads. Um, and I remember Jerry Harrison had a hit. I remember seeing him in Burlington, like in the mid '80s or whatever. He came to town with his band. Um, what was that? He had this one song that was on the radio all the time. Ride, I think it was called.
Hmm.
So,
I think sometimes bands who started off avant-garde and artsy, I
mhm.
wonder if they just sometimes get to this point where they're like, we're more than that. We're not just these artsy guys. We actually
Yeah,
we can make mainstream rock and make hits if we want to.
yeah,
Like REM, for example.
sure.
Um,
Yeah,
Maybe they just get tired after a while of being like, the artsy
mhm.
avant-garde people, and they just want to be more MTV,
Sure.
and make some money and and prove to the world that they can be more
Yeah,
than just these weird 20 somethings, but now they can be, I don't know. Because I mean, they went
yeah.
through it, Talking Heads went through it. I guess
I think some.
you could
Yeah,
kind of say the Cars sort of went through that too,
yeah,
you know?
sure. I think sometimes people, like that's an entry, depending on the times, it's an entry into the music business or a record company deal, especially with like the punk thing, even, like the Police were marketed as a punk band, even though they weren't, or, XTC was marketed as a punk band. They were kind of, both bands kind of had a lot more potential than that, they had, ambitious and talented songwriters and musicians. So I think maybe once they got a little breathing room, they were like, oh, we can do something else besides this quirky little stuff. So I don't know. It's a good point though.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Maybe it just comes down to selling records too. I mean,
Oh yeah.
I'm sure And She Was is probably on the radio more than any Talking Heads song, you know.
Right. Yep.
And I'm sure that like Losing My Religion is on more than any other REM song.
Right.
So I
The
guess
royalty
at a
checks.
certain point these were going to be their mainstream hits.
Yeah.
And whatever. But I
Mm.
don't like some of those songs, so
Yeah. Yeah.
made my list.
No, that's all right. Yeah. No, that's you feel better now?
Yeah.
Did any Prince songs make your potential list?
No, there definitely are some Prince songs I don't love,
Yeah.
but I couldn't think of any that really would make a top 10 list of all time.
Yeah.
Were there any for you that came close?
The only one that came close was that song "My Name Is Prince."
Oh yeah, and I Am Funky.
Yeah, just because I don't know. I don't. His vocals are kind of like he's almost yelling, screaming on it. I don't like the vocal quality that much.
Yeah.
And the whole like "My Name Is Prince, I'm funky," and I'm coming to town kind of thing.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
really. It's a little bravado, which I get. It's not. Whatever. But
I had forgotten about that song actually.
yeah, that was kind of. I think that might have been the only one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but and I kind of lost track of Prince too, like in the '90s. After I think Diamonds and Pearls, I think was the last one I bought. So
Right. Yeah.
I didn't really
He's got that song where Kirstie Alley is on it.
in the video.
No, she talks on it. She like
Is
plays like a reporter who's interviewing him.
oh, is that My
In the
Name Is
song.
Prince? That's not that one.
Is it?
I think it is.
Oh,
Kirsty. Speaking of Cheers, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I think that's
Um,
yeah,
no, but there were other artists who like I was searching my brain for a bad song and I just couldn't, like Elvis Costello or
yeah.
um I couldn't John Lennon. I couldn't think of like a really bad, song that I don't like. I mean, like anybody else, he's got some that aren't his best, but they don't. None of them are.
Total clunkers.
Yeah, that get on my nerves.
Right. What about the Beatles?
The only one that would have come close would have been like Wild Honey Pie,
Right. Or
But
my name, look up my number,
oh, I
whatever.
love that song.
Some people hate that song.
Oh God, I love that song.
Yeah. I'm fine with it too, but it always seems to make the list of like, down at the bottom.
Oh my God, that's
Um,
that's one of my top favorite Beatles songs. Actually, I love that song.
yeah, the honey pie one is yeah.
I don't love Michelle. If I was going to pick one Beatles song that I
Mhm.
never really listened to very much, it's Michelle.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know why.
I was Googling after I came up with my list, I was kind of like did a Google like, where bad songs by great artists, and a couple Beatles songs came up, which I think is
Really?
more a reflection of where we are now, like Run for Your Life. Like the lyrics in that,
Okay, I could see that. Yeah.
is more like, wow, probably wouldn't get written today, but and I think it's more like a, today kind of stand, looking at things.
Yeah.
And there was another one. I can't remember the other one.
Blue Jay Way is not a great song, I don't think.
Yeah. I don't think that one. What was the other one? Oh, Why Don't We Do It in the Road was the other one I saw on a couple lists.
Yeah, but that's so short and it's just kind of
It's like a little transition thing.
yeah, they were just screwing around,
Yeah. So
I don't really count that.
Does it even count as a song? Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think of this. Oh, yeah, no. I mean, there's that line in I have to admit it's getting better. It's getting better all the time.
Mhm.
where he says, I used to be cruel to my woman. I beat her and kept her apart from the things that she loved. I mean,
Yeah,
that's harsh.
I know. That's true. But then it's like, it's not necessarily autobiographical, but it's still sometimes
Yeah.
hard to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're writing a story or if you're developing a character,
But actually, what I read later about that was that was a John Lennon line.
Mm-hmm.
That it really is how he felt about himself. He was an asshole to women when he was
Yeah.
younger, and he did. I don't think it's any secret that he did. He was physically abusive to women when he was younger.
Yeah, I read that
I
too.
think it
Yep.
was him kind of like owning up to it and like,
Mhm.
I used to do that. I was an asshole, but I'm doing better. you know.
Yeah, it's
So when
not
you
an
put it
easy
into
thing.
context, it's actually a good thing.
Right, right.
It's still a horrible thing to hear with your ears, but
Sure, sure. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's true. You want people to get better.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm getting better all the time.
all the time. Couldn't get much worse. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was it. It was a fun episode.
Yeah,
Something different for us.
definitely.
Um,
All right.
we've been waiting
Well,
for the Beatles Get Back to come out.
yeah, 9 more days.
I know. Nice.
All right, I'm gonna hit the old stop record button, okay?
All right.
Okay, listeners, hope you enjoyed this episode.